And last time, if you remember, I'm just, just saying what I already said the last time. We have seen how to move in the interface and where things are inside Blender in the UI, like for example the outliner, and where are the options for the tools, and where are also basically all the options for everything inside Blender. If you remember, you go inside Blender, you just move, sorry, I enable my screencast key again. You move with middle mouse to rotate, and with shift and middle mouse you can move, you can pan, okay? And with zoom, with the scroll wheel you can zoom, okay? And I hope that everything is clear. Also, we have seen how to start to move objects and how to create some basic objects, like, for example, the cube in the scene, or how to put a cylinder or a sphere, right? You remember it? It's Shift-A, Mesh, and you go to Cube, Plane, let's put a cube again, okay? Or you can go over here and you can see over here we have the possibility to add things also here, the same of Shift-A menu. Also, we have started to see here the tools that I can use to move my object, the translate tool, and that I can set the axis where I translating the cube, just pressing on the axis. For example, the Y, the Z, and the X. So basically, we have seen also how to rotate it with these tools here, and on the left, right, in the toolbar, and also how to scale the object. And also, we have seen that essentially when we are working in this mode, object mode, we are like making our modification on the box that is containing the actual object that you can see when you go in edit mode. This. And when you go in edit mode, you can start to make more amazing stuff. We have seen, for example, that still over here on the top, here, okay, we can select vertices, edges, and faces. And I hope that you tried at home a bit these things that we have already seen. Also, we have seen that this one is selection tool, and now is a select box. But if I keep pressing it, I can change the selection mode. For example, I can use lasso. We haven't seen it, but it's really easy. You can do stuff like that. And now I'm selecting my faces. And also, we have started to use the in edit mode the tools like move, rotate, and scale to start to change, for example, the position of vertices, and to change the shape of, for example, our cubes, saying that basically each object can be seen as a basic shape, like a cube, a sphere. You have to look to the overall, if you remember, shape of the object before starting to model it. And also, now I'm just doing a recap, right? And also, if you remember, we have started with the contextual menu that you can find with right click over the interface. We started to add more geometry to our object using a subdivide. And also I have shown a bit that if I select a face now, I press the shortcut is 3 for faces. You can, for example, extrude it if I need more geometry without having this kind of result, but adding more geometry. So I don't ruin my topology, okay, if I want to obtain something like that. And this is only a recap for yesterday, because I wanted also to see, now I don't see how many people there are in the room, but I wanted to see if someone else was joining us. Just a moment, because I don't see where now, when I'm sharing, where it's possible to see the participant. Nikita can maybe show to me where they are. Kita, are you there? Okay. It's not answering. I hope that everybody else can see it. Can someone say to me if it's listening it? How is everything going until now, please?
Yeah, everything is going fine.
Okay.
We can
Because
hear you.
I don't.
Yeah.
No.
We can hear
Okay.
you when she was saying.
We are here. We are listening.
Okay, because I don't know if Vera is there. If you are there, if you can answer to me, please. You're not there.
No, I can see.
Because I wanted to answer to your question before.
No, I see in the list of participants that Vera is not here.
Just check if I can see. He's not here. Yeah, I'm seeing the list. Okay. Instead, I think Luis asked to me yesterday about render, about shaders, materials, and rendering. Am I right, Luis? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
So now, after this recap, essentially what I do, I just show to Luis. Don't mind what I'm showing Luis at this moment, because it's something a bit more advanced, but maybe for someone else it can be also interesting, because until now we are doing something very basic. So let's show to Luis how to make renders inside Blender, even if we don't know how to model still precisely things, and we will show it later. So just a second. Okay. Essentially, if you take a Blender file, okay, and you drag it on the interface, you can open it. Okay, so you open it in this way. I don't say what I did, it's a mess. And now you see that I've created for Luis this scene that is an easy scene where I show how materials are a bit made inside Blender and how to set up the renderings. What is rendering? Essentially is that process that allow me to obtain from a 3D model, because now we are in the 3D space, thanks to the positioning of a camera that I can put in the scene, thanks to the add menu or using the shortcut, thanks to Shift A. Here, if you look, I have camera. Okay. And essentially now I'm, thanks to this button over here, I'm looking my scene through this camera that as every object that I put in the scene has some characteristic. These characteristics are always for everything in some of these menu related to that specific object. For example, if I'm setting the option of the camera, I need to select before the camera, and after, you see now I have a green icon that before wasn't there because I was selecting an object, a solid, and in fact, instead of the green camera, I have a triangle that if you look is for, if I go over it, okay, just a second, you see that is for properties related to object data. And if you remember, we have already seen the difference between object mode and object and edit mode. In edit mode, you don't see the object data, but the object data, okay? And object data are inside here. Don't look at it. I want to just say that every object has its own characteristic, its own properties. Camera, I have the properties of the camera under here. So if I need to change properties of rendering settings, that is the process to have a two-dimensional image from a 3D scene, I have to go to the over here. I erase a moment. With mouse is not so easy. But if you see here, I have an icon with a camera, and it is for, if I go over it, you see its render properties. There, depending on what kind of machine you have, if you have a Mac, forget that. But otherwise, if you have a powerful machine or a medium powerful machine, you can decide to instead using the CPU to compute using the GPU. In my case, I have a powerful machine with a good graphic card, and I'm using it instead of my CPU to calculate the render because it's a demanding process, okay? And can be faster. Also because I have a last kind of, let's say I have an RTX, graphic card, I can also use and it's NVIDIA, is not an NAD as inside a Mac. I can also use something that is optimizing the renderer preview in my viewport. In fact, I will show you later more in detail. I can go over here on the top. I hope everybody is seeing where I'm on the mouse, and I can choose to go in different, let's say, viewport shading mode, how my viewport is showing to me the material. Now is something really flat, really boring, but I have already put some things on these kind of materials. And if I go over here, I can see that I can see a preview. This is just a preview, not a render, of my material. I have a very glossy material. I have a material that instead is more rough and has a diffuse shading. Okay. If you see on the first sphere that is identical to this one that I have selected, you see the selected one is with an orange outline. I can see, now I show it, you can see that I see the faces. This is because later I will show to you, we have a different way to show the smoothness, let's say, of an object. And even if the topology is the same, the result in the shading looks a lot different. Here I see all the faces, and this one instead looks very smooth. Okay, to do these kind of materials, I have to go in a different part of the interface that actually you can also do in another way, but for the moment, if you are at the beginning, it's a bit more complex. And Blender is amazing because they already created the right interface to make the shading, to make the materials. You have only to go over here on shading. Maybe I have to enable again the screencast. Yes. And if you see here, I have this strange kind of viewport. Here we will see later a bit, but not so much, because it's something that is not necessary to know to make a scene for the moment for the hub. Okay. But here we can see that for every sphere that I select, okay, here I have the same material, and on this one, instead, sorry, here and here we have the same material, okay. Here instead, what I changed is that I say that this material is metallic, is a metal. If in fact I go down, you see that start to change. And if I start to increase what is the roughness of the material is identical to the other one. Okay, that's the only thing that I changed. Another thing that I want to show to Luis is that you can obtain very advanced material, but don't mind that if you need some advice how to do it, maybe privately or on Discord, I can share with you some tutorials, okay? But don't mind it, okay? For example, here I show that here we have other different kind of material. This material, if you see, it's like a bit glowing because it's an emissive material. It's like a light. Now I don't, in this viewport mode, in this shading mode, I can understand too much that is a light. I understand it because I know how Blender acts. But if I go in rendering, this is a real-time, a sort of real-time renderer inside the viewport, okay. If I press it, the last ball, see that now the scene changed completely, and you can see that is like a light, and also I have wanted to show to you that if you don't know everything behind the theory on how to make materials, and you say that here it's a lot complex, there is an add-on that I have not installed in the Blender version I sent to you, and is here in this. You see here I have all my properties, and I have also this icon that stands for material property. If you go over, you can find it. You can understand each icon, what is related to, if you forget what it is. I press it, okay. And there is this add-on that just a moment. Okay, here that is called. I disable a moment of the rendering because it's computing in the meanwhile. You see that here I have this Lily surface scraper. Okay, it's an add-on and is super useful because if you don't know nothing about material, okay, already, okay, if you go here, you see that I have here, okay, I have available sources and I can go to this website. These websites are some websites that have a lot of materials of what is called PBR. If you see, I call it to distinguish the material, texture, even, etc. You can see that from this website, that is Texture Heaven, the third one, if I press on it, pressing on it, I open this web page. On this web page, on the left here, I have different kind of material. For example, let's say I want a floor. For example, let's say this one, the brick floor. Okay. And I don't need to download this stuff. I just go on the web page link. I copy it. I go back to Blender, and here you can see there is written here import from clipboard. If I press it, I have a pop-up asking me what resolution I want for the texture, because basically are different images that are creating this photorealistic material. I can choose to import, for example, a one key. It means a full HD texture. Okay, I can import it. If I press OK, it takes a while, and immediately I have the material. Okay, you see that I have some problems here, but we have done nothing on this object. We should make something that is called UV unwrapping. And maybe I will explain the next lesson, because it's something that takes only one lesson to explain how to unwrap the things. I mean, I want to explain how to unwrap every object that you are going to create, not only what we are going to create during the class. So it's not so easy unwrapping. For me, it's not so easy. Maybe for someone else, it's amazing and it's super easy. But you see that you have already a realistic material on it. You say, oh, it's not too realistic. Okay, if now I go to viewport shading renderer, this one, you see that it is a lot realistic to be imported. I haven't set up nothing. And also, if you go here to this, what they call displacement, I can increase and I create these things. It's now the strange because this material, I have maybe the fourth material. Let's do again on material that had at the beginning, inside the scene. Just a second. If I go to the older material, and I go to displacement and I put 1.7, means that it's basically a lot more. You see that I changed the geometry. Now I accelerated it a bit to make you understand. But you see that.
Marco,
it looks-
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it seems that if rendering goes, then we can.
Okay, but now I stop you. Okay,
So,
because now it was also rendering, yes.
yeah, so maybe it's logical to not describe everything during rendering, and then when you click pause on rendering, then proceed with.
Okay, what haven't you heard about it?
Okay.
What is not so clear?
Yeah. So
Yeah, everything is clear, or something wasn't clear until now.
no, it's generally okay. It was just a little bit glitchy.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah. When I'm rendering, because actually, what my graphic card, I'm asking to my graphic card to do also, and to my internet, is also to optimize my sound when I'm talking to you, to not make here my keyboard, for example, and so
I see.
it's a pretty demanding. So now I'm almost at the end, okay, of this long answer, because it's complicated, material. I wanted just to give to Luis a general idea what means to make materials. So now you have an idea what materials are, and you can obtain different kind of results, okay, inside the render.
Michael,
If you,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you show again how you managed to open the website with the textures? I kind of got
Yes,
lost. I'm sorry.
it's an add-on that is not installed by default in Blender. I say that, okay. And the add-on is this one, okay, that is called Lily Surface Scraper, okay. And here you have all these websites. This website, one of my favorite is Texture Heaven. I have a lot of materials, okay? And these are open source materials, so you can use, you have to check it, okay? But I think you can use it also commercially without paying $1. If everything is open source and free. So here you essentially you what I said, you go to this website, you choose, for example, now I'm on another one. You choose the material, you go on the web page link over here. Okay, you copy it, and I haven't copied. Okay, but let's do it. I copy it, and after I say here on the second button, import from clipboard. And now it say variant for key. Now I put one key because for key is a lot for just demonstration. For key is 4x full HD. So I press it. And now you see I have the other material. I don't press the render button now, okay, because otherwise you don't hear me clearly. But okay, I show it and after I go back. Okay. I reduced essentially the scale. Scale is how much I'm displacing it. Is a node that the add-on is putting by itself inside the what is called Blender nodes shader here. Yeah, this one is called displacement. Okay. So now I show to Luis, okay, and to everybody else that is a bit advanced, in the use of Blender. How to set? I have set up, thanks actually to a tutorial that you can find also by yourself on the internet. But I think is one of the best setting normally you can have to render a scene. Essentially, you have to go here where there are all options. Okay, I go on this one, render properties. I've set up, if you have a powerful device, not a Mac with AMD, you have almost 100% to work well with almost every 3D software to have NVIDIA card, because NVIDIA card now also they released the last super powerful graphic card. I think for what these regards, the graphic cards are the best until now. Also, AMD were very competitive. Now they crushed the market with the last one. NVIDIA is, if you consider the top for gaming, because I have a gamer graphic card, was the 280 Ti, okay, 11 gigabyte, and costed in euro. The basic was something as 1,400 euro, okay. And now, with half of the price, you have a graphic card that is coming out on the 17th of this month that is more powerful or of the best card until now by them. So imagine what means for the 3D artist. Means that you are rendering a lot faster without a lot of problems. Okay. And now I show to you the render setting. If you have a powerful PC and if you can support it, you have to try it. Its GPU is much faster than CPU. If it's a laptop, I advise you to use the CPU, because otherwise you are going to ruin your laptop to render on the CPU. It gets too hot. Okay. So you set this. After, a good policy is to put here in sampling, means how long is going to calculate. Let's say this, even if it's not properly correct, but is I think clear. More this number is height, more it takes. Okay. So put 200. Okay. Viewport 32. Viewport, in case I will share with you the file, no problem. Viewport denoising, you put if you have NVIDIA card optics, because it's super good. And after you go to light paths and you put these settings, these identical settings. If you want to go more in detail, I will share with you a video that go more deeply in this, but for the moment can be confusing. Just know that if you put this setting, normally for almost every scene that you are going to render, apart certain cases, it's more than enough. Here, clamping was something that was used a lot time ago. Don't mind it. After you, this is something caustics that is for glass. Remember, when you have glossy surfaces and glasses, are the nightmare of every 3D artist. Okay. And in the hub, don't consider glasses, because you can have transparency, for example, a transparent leaves, okay, where the contour of the leaf is transparent, but don't consider to have a translucent leaf as in nature, because otherwise you are going to have a lot of problem inside Mozilla apps. After, okay, usually when I do render, okay, I put here transparent in film, here, these settings. I'm hovering over with the mouse, okay. I put transparent because if you don't put it, now I don't show you to you because I have to put the view in render mode, and probably you're not, I try, but probably you will not hear me anymore. You see, now I see the background. If I put transparent, the background go over. As I show to you very fast, okay, because otherwise you can't hear me. When you put transparent, the background is becoming transparent. Okay. After what I do, I go on color management, and here, filmic, here where I'm going over with the mouse, filmic view transform is there by default. Usually I put medium low contrast because I like the result. Okay. And that's it for render settings. After what I do, I go here, and here you have the output properties, the image that you are going to have out of your Blender, the two-dimensional image. You press it, and here, because I have a powerful graphic card and I have a screen that is a 4K, usually I put the resolution of my screen, the resolution, and when I'm doing some render for testing the result, I put 20. Otherwise, I increase it and then go to 100. 20s means that is 1/3 of a 4K, so I have full HD in 20. Okay. After what I do, I put in the output a TIFF here in the file format. And as color depth, I use 16 because you can work a lot in post-production if you want with Photoshop, for example. Okay. And that's it. Okay. For output. Oh, no, I put also this because usually here, you see, I have metadata. Metadata are some, when you over a picture, a render, okay, and you go to properties, you can see that you can see the date when the image was realized, the time, and other things like camera settings, file name, etc. Usually, I put also note where there is my name with copyright. It's something that I like to do, but you don't need to do it. If you want, it's nice to have a note, your name with copyright, to know that belongs to you, not the image. After, I go to these settings, view layer properties. Okay. And in view layer properties, I put the noising data. This is something that is possible, I think, on the last graphic card, not on Mac. I'm not sure. I have to check, because actually I'm going to do something that is already set up by default in my scene. That is this tab over on the top of the screen, compositing. I'm adding in post-production, okay, a denoise means that I can render for 1 minute and have a result that usually you have in 20 minutes without losing too much the quality, because denoising is using, I think, also lately some artificial intelligence, is doing an amazing job on not have noise inside the image with a lower quality of the samples. Okay. Now I stop a bit to talk. Okay. I render the image, and after I say to you something about the image. And if Vera is here, I will answer also to her, but I think I will answer to her at the end, because we are going to be a bit longer on this subject. And I want to do still a lot of things on modeling. So If now I stop my voice, okay, I render for 1 minute and I show to you the result. Sorry, for rendering, right? For rendering, you have to go on the top here where is written render, and the shortcut is F12. Otherwise, you press render image. Now, when I press it, probably you will not hear me anymore, okay? I wanted to do it now because you can understand that wasn't so impossible to render a full HD image. And now I show the result. Is this one. Okay, it's a bit jagged because I have to improve a bit the image size. It's a full HD and I'm on a4 a key screen, okay. But you can see that the result is still not bad, and it looks not so much. And if the geometry has a lot more topology, that is not good to make animation or to create something for virtual reality or for gaming. But if you need a very high quality render, you can work a lot more on the geometry, and you don't have these, let's see, these, or here is not working. Okay, here, okay, you have not this jagged, angled shape, this black one. This is only because the geometry is not so high quality, but you know, I did it very fast. So now, if someone has some question, do you understand everything? Please let me know.
So far, so good. Thank you, Marco.
I don't hear you.
No, I was saying that so far, so good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Let me know, guys, if it's boring. Guys, over there.
All good.
Rendering was so boring.
That was good.
Okay. So now let's move forward. Okay. And I will. I have already recapped. I have already said what the last time we did. Okay, so I am not redoing it. But now we start. We can start to understand better how to move in a better way inside the interface, and how to use other things of the interface. I will explain them when I'm also explaining modeling, because the time is not too much. Okay, and there is a lot to cover to understand Blender for the beginners, and for advanced user, I also want to give something that is more advanced. So I'm trying to find the right balance. And I want also that today, if for you guys is okay, we can start to be a bit more interactive. So I do something, and after I would like to have your feedback, and you try something that is new for you. Okay, that I want you start to practice a bit. So I create a new scene. Okay, go to my layout again. You see I have a camera and I have a light. With shift, I have to enable again the screencast. With shift, it keeps disabling. With shift, I can select multiple objects. Guys, as you can see, there is something. Okay. No, actually I haven't enabled it. I supposed it, but I want to show this. Usually, when you select an object, you don't have the gizmo. To have the gizmo, usually you have to go over here and to select the tool. But sometimes you will see that when I'm working, you will see that suddenly I will have the gizmo enabled. What, even if I'm using another tool, selecting. Why? Selecting that it is, I remember, the box over there. Why? Because I go over here, after I will explain it better, on this button, and I enable move, and I keep it enabled forever. So if I'm in edit mode and I'm in edit mode and I'm selecting, I remember that to go to edit mode you have to press tab, and I go to face select. Okay, you see that already by default it goes here to move, because I selected this. So now I have selection, but move is still enabled. Or if, just a moment. Obviously, now you see also something else that can be confusing. I said it's enabled. Okay. You have to mind that other tools, as these, have their own gizmo, like this. So when there is it's gizmo, because it's still a work in progress, the interface is changing a lot. Sometimes this tool is disappearing, is behaving strangely. But what I wanted just to say is, don't confuse yourself. If you see that why the gizmo is you are in selecting mode and why you have also move, don't be confused. It means that I have enabled it. That's it. I wanted just to know. Don't be confused from the fact that I'm in selecting mode, but I have also the tool move enable over here. Blender sometimes can be clumsy, and I wanted you understand this. So let's disable it, and let's go over. Yesterday, I've inserted objects, but nobody, maybe because you are already expert, has noticed that sometimes I created, now I redo it, okay. I created my object, okay, and you think, okay, my object is appearing where there is the cube, right? Instead, I put my object with Shift A, I put cube, and where is it? is, I know, because I know, is over there. But why is over there? Because actually you have to understand this concept. This strange pointer that you have here, okay, this strange pointer is where my object is created. And actually, okay, this can be moved thanks to these tools. You know that tools now are here. And when, for example, I click on a face, now the point of insertion of my next object will be there. This is super useful. Why? Because now if I create a cube, the cube is exactly because the point from where the object is created is by default its center, this orange dot, that actually you can move this point of origin of the object. How? Sometimes can be useful, for example, that you rotate this object and you want instead, you know, if now I in object mode and I rotate it on Y, sorry, Y, okay, is moving around its center. Okay, you see it. But what if I want to move this object, okay, from its edge, for example? I can do it by when I'm selecting the object, instead of moving it in the classical way, this one, okay, I go on the top here where there is written option here, and I select origins, okay, this dot. Okay, with this dot, I'm not affecting the position of the object, but the position of its origin. Now you see that I'm moving, this orange dot is very small, where, okay, I have my arrow, and I'm not moving the object, I'm moving its origin. Before knowing how to snap things that we are not going to see today, okay, we put some moving in our view. I remember that you can go to view here, and on viewpoint you can select top view and other view, and you can with right view put somewhere here, and with right view put it here. Okay, after we go out of origins. And why I did this? Because now if I rotate with this button, or I remember you that how to move things inside Blender is super easy. Actually, if you think what I press when I rotate, what I have to press to rotate is super easy. If I think to the word rotate, I press the first letter R and I'm rotating. And you say, okay, I don't know where I'm rotating around. I'm rotating around the origin, but from the point of view of the that I'm looking to now. Because the origin, I'm not in orthographic view, but I'm in perspective view, is rotating in a strange way. But how I can constrain the rotation, for example, around the y-axis? I just press Y, and now it's constrained on the Y. See, Y, and it's constrained on the Y. How I can rotate it around the X axis? I just press X, and now X is rotating around X. Around Z, Z, simple. And if I want to rotate around, for example, the other two axes, but avoid rotation around Z, I just press rotate R, and with Shift and Z, I'm disabling the Z axis. I'm rotating only. Not with rotation is a bit strange, but for example, with it's the same with translation for translating it. Okay, for moving. Sorry, it. If I want, okay, to move it. Actually, you see what happened. I selected this object, and I supposed that I was moving the origin of this one, because now I have two objects, and instead I changed the position of this one in a really bad way, because it's here. And now if I'm rotating around X, is rotating from there, you see, from there, is exactly from there. So actually is in the wrong position. I just go to option, origins, just to show to you again, and move it here, closer here. Now just by eye, because I'm not doing snapping. And with X, now it's rotating rightly. Okay, if I want to move this object just on X and Y and not Z, I just press G. G is for grab the object. Okay, now I can move it. Now it's not constrained, I can move it everywhere in the viewport. Okay. Actually, if I press G another time, I can also. No, now they disabled it. It was something, sorry, old. But actually, if I press G, I can move it around the viewport. Okay. Instead, if I press G, Shift Z, I constraining the movement on X and Y. On the XY plane, you see that now instead I have highlighted the X and the Y axis, and is moving only on this plane. And this can be useful sometimes. Just mind it, it's something that can be useful in the modeling, okay? Because you're constraining the movement on the plane. And you don't want that the movement is also on Z. The same is for other plane. And actually, when you have the gizmo enabled with the move tool here, is the same that selecting the small square and is constraining on that plane. If I go here, you see I have a green one, means I'm constraining on, you see that blue Z-axis and the red one, the X, the X, okay, one is the Z, one the X. I can now constrain on vertical plane, okay. And this is for making you understand that the object is moving accordingly by default around the origin, around the pivot point, that you can change it, the position of this pivot point, going to options and selecting affect the movement of only the origins. Now you can change the position of it, okay? And it's not the only thing that that you can do now for moving, the object. I have still select origins, is moving only the origin, but is something that is also good to know when you are exporting an object. If now you see that the intersection of the axis is the origin of my word, I'm exporting the things for the hub, I'm having problem because my objects have this dot in the wrong position. For you guys to not, to not make you remember too many things, I put a shortcut for an add-on. Pressing the Q is a super important shortcut, because if you press Q, you have shortcuts that you have set by yourself. And I put this one that is bottom, is an add-on. And what does it make the objects right for exporting to the hub? Because now you see that I exaggerate a bit so you can see it better. I move the origin somewhere in the space, okay? And when I'm going to export to the hub, I will have problems, okay? If I press Q for quick favorites, I press button. Now, immediately, I have the object in the origin with his origin point, on the floor. So now, also, if I'm scaling it, you see, it's scaling from there. And is super useful. So we have seen how to put things, but something that I have shown to you is how to delete the things. Usually I use a shortcut, so actually I press X. When I press X, I'm deleting things. X, just X. I go back again, or I change, sorry, the viewport mode. I went back too many times. Just, okay. If I select these things and X, I delete the object, and you see on my bottom is written deleted. I clean a bit the scene because it's going to be a mess. Sometimes something that you have seen me to make a lot, you are modeling stuff and you are putting objects everywhere. And you are here and you say, I remember I modeled something, but where it is, it's difficult to go to it. Simply, you go to view and you see there is frame selected. If I go to the outliner, that is this, I remember, place over there on the right, I can, thanks to view and frame selected, jump where the object it is, because it's in a part of the space that is not good for me. And to be sure that everything is fine when exported, I press Q, bottom. After I go to view, the view frame selected, and I jump where the object it is. With A, I delete everything. A is for all, select all. And usually in Blender, when a shortcut makes something, to make the opposite, you have to press before Alt. So if I'm selecting everything with A and I want to deselect everything, I press Alt A. Now everything is deselected. The only thing is not erasing is the nodes I'm putting around. If someone is interested to know how to do it, let me know it. Everything is clear, guys? Please let me know. Are you enjoying it? You expected this from today?
Yes.
So far, so good.
Other guys that are a bit more advanced are fine with
All
that?
good so far.
Okay, perfect. So let's go over, and I show to you something very fast now because I have to run a bit. In case, after today, you can go back to me, and I help you to for newcomers how to do different things. Okay, because I want to explain that very fast now, because Blender has a lot of things in different places, and to explain everything takes forever if you want, I think, to be clear. Okay, so something, if I put a cube, that is important to consider is that, as I have shown to you, I can, okay, understand now the importance of the pivot point. That is the origin of the object that is allowing me to make some transformation of the object in a certain way. But I have also to mind that usually is because I'm using as a reference point for my transformation only the origin. But actually I can use also something else. If I go in edit mode, okay, if now I select my object with A, I can select also faces, all the faces, all the edges, all the vertices. Sorry for English. I can also, okay, select things as I was saying inside the edit mode. Okay, as in object mode is the same in edit mode. But I select the components of the object. Okay. So now, if I'm moving the faces, the origin, okay, stays where it was. So mind that, guys, because after, when you go in object mode, now your point of transformation by default, now I show why I'm saying by default, will be that one. And so your object is going to be generated from there. In fact, if I go to object properties, let's talk about it, but I will go deep the next time. Okay, neat. If I have seen here, I have all the properties. Okay, I go to object properties. Okay, if I go to object property, what can I do? I can select a visibility mode that is not important for us, but is just to know what I'm doing is here, viewport display. And I can say that instead of showing my object, is showing is bounding box. Bounding box, if you remember, means the space that my object is taking in object mode. Okay, if I go to bounds, you see that bounds are all over there. Okay, but if I go in edit mode and I move, this is a wrong object because it's a cube and you are seeing the cube inside the cube. So I do this pyramid. You see that my object is the pyramid. But the things where I'm going to do my transformation is this box. Why I'm saying this? Because the origin is out of the box. And it can happen also this. Means that I consider all my space and the origin as inside this box. Instead, I see that it is somewhere else. So I'm thinking that now this object, and I do it to make you understand, when I'm is behaving exactly as this one, but when I start to scale them with a property that is called individual origin, I will show it, what happens? One is also moving because is scaling by different points. Is something that when is not something that you have to understand too much now, but is something that you have to consider, because when you are exporting something to the hub, you are going to screw everything. Everything is not working anymore. Okay, that's it. This is for people that are new to. I think I explained it in a method that also too much. Okay, but mind that that point is where your object is considered to be created for. So if you are scaling something after in the hub, is moving in a strange way for that reason. That's what you have to think. This is only the explanation why. And it's a long explanation. Now, I show to you object, cube, okay. And in object, you see something. You see that you can go in edit mode. Okay. When you go in edit mode, I have already shown to you that you can move your face. Okay. And I have shown to you that sometimes you need more geometry. One way to add more geometry is subdivide. Okay. Now I'm showing subdivide, okay, in more detail than the other time. For selecting the stuff, okay, I can use the. I'm repeating myself a lot because I think it's important to understand where things are for some people. If now I select my object with the tools that I'm using, okay, sorry, I see that I can move only the faces I have, right? And I can do everything I want. If I want to create something more complex, I need, as I told, more geometry. For adding more geometry, I think, by the way, guys, I think that today we are going to be a bit longer. Sorry for that, but it took more time to explain something because I'm also a bit tired, maybe. So with subdivide, you can add more geometry. And I have already shown that you select everything and you subdivide it. Okay? But now, if I move it, I'm also ruining my topology. Okay? And it's not the only way that I have to subdivide things. One is when I extrude, is creating by itself more geometry around it without ruining. Okay? But for subdividing things, if, for example, let's say I need more geometry only on this, faces, okay, there is something that is called loop cut, okay? A loop cut essentially is something that you can do when you have quads connected together. And the tool to make it is this one. This one. Now, if I select it, I can make a loop cut. And this cutting surrounding my surfaces because I have all quads. What is nice of loop cuts is that I can add, thanks to, I have to deselect it, sorry, again. I have to go over there, you will see it will appear something. I have an option to select how many cuts I want to create. And now, if I put 3 and I put a loop cut here, it creates 3 cuts, not only one. So now, essentially, I have more faces here. To recall it, but don't worry guys, I will recap it also next time, okay? To recall this command, there is always the shortcut. Shortcut is the R, stays for reach. If I press Ctrl R and I go with scroll width, I can do it in much faster way. Why I have shown loop cut? Because actually you can make also it with subdivide. And if I say that loop cut is this edge that is surrounding our surface, okay, I can also make a loop cut selecting something that is a bit different, that is this, with edges, is this. Okay. If now I select this and I press right click subdivide, I create the loop cut because these faces are all connected together. Okay. We have seen now what we can do with this. We can, for example, make not a loop cut, but a cut that is connecting these 2 edges, just subdividing it. And now if I go to move tool and I go like that, is this familiar with you, for you? Yeah, you can create something like that because you needed just more geometry for a roof here. Sorry for the long speech, by the way, on the pivot, but it's something complicated that is necessary to know because I know a lot of people may have on it. What is bounding box, and if it's not clear, don't worry. Okay, just ask what is not clear because it's a concept that is not so easy, okay? And if you have problem with something that is not positioned well in the space, you know that is because in object mode you changed the pivot. Okay, that's it. So now we have seen that, for example, I created an edge here that can be my edge of the roof, but if I have 3 edges connected that are following, you see the overall flow of my geometry, I can, with subdivide, create a cut that is crossing there. A loop cut actually is a cut that is crossing all the geometry. But if I need, for example, don't think about topology for the moment, for guys that are good in that. But if I, for example, subdivide, I need the geometry only here, it's not necessary that I cut also something on the bottom if I don't need it. Okay. And this is how to create cut. Look at extrude. We have seen these tools, extrude, the other times. But now you know that you can create loop cut. When loop cut is not confirmed, to confirm it, you have to press right click. Okay. Now, when loop cut with Control R is not confirmed, you can move it. And with the mouse, you position it. When instead you haven't still clicked on it, with Control R and with scroll wheel, you can add more loop cuts. Okay. How can I select a loop cut? Means an edge that is crossing, okay, my surface in an easy way. Actually, also this, depending on the flow, it's part of the loop cut. But if I press Alt on it, hovering it, and I press the left click of the mouse, okay, Alt, left click, I can select the loop cut. And this is something that you will see I will use a lot when we will start modeling. We will be able to model later, don't worry. Just will be a bit long. So you can select with Alt left click. And with also, you know, if you go to move, you can move it, you can position it. So let's see with extrude what else we can do. There is not only the traditional extrude that if you go to face, you can extrude in this way. But you can also, okay, select these faces. Okay. And instead of selecting, no, let's select actually only these two faces. And if instead of selecting extrude region, I clicked my left mouse on extrude and I go to extrude along normals. Okay, now I have this. And if I keep pressed Alt, I can obtain something that is extruded along the perpendicular of the surfaces. Instead, if I go to the normal extrude, it happens this. Is extruding along the overall perpendicular that is indicated by this arrow in the wrong direction. And instead with this tool, now is not even, okay, but with Alt, because I know the shortcut, essentially, if you remember the last action menu with F9, here you can say offset even, and now you have this. And this is something really useful. You can start to obtain, you know, something amazing. Not amazing, but interesting. You can create from a cube, you know, created a shape that is completely different. We have seen that loop cut is possible, okay, only when the faces are quads and are or quads. Here, now I do something that I will show later, okay? I will explain what it is. I cut this face. I created a triangle here, you see, it is a triangle. So now if I, with Control R or with the tool here, and I repeat the option, now is 3 here, I put over on the top on the left here was 3, I put 1 because I want just one cut. If now I want to create a lookup, was with 3, sorry, again, 1. If I put a lookup, you have seen that is created only until here, after stops. I have a lookup until here, because crossing only if I have quads. If I have a triangle or, for example, an angle, you see that now is, sorry, that now I have more than 4 edges, so I have an angle. The lookup stops. How can I create a lookup that go also here? There is this method. Now, sorry, I have to do it. Go a bit easier, okay? Mesh, plane. Just a moment, I recreate the triangle substantially and I reput the lookup. If I want that my lookups continue, I mean over here, this is the technique I will show, but I can also do something else. How? There is a command that if I select faces, okay, it's with here, I repeat. If I select faces with this command, insert faces, or you can imagine now everybody is sleeping.
We're just processing everything.
You can open the cam also, so I see that I'm not talking by myself. Oh, hi Tom. I think for you was something very basic and something was a bit confusing because it's difficult to explain in easy way. Pivot, I think.
No, I didn't find it basic. I mean, I have a different skill set, I think, but no, it's
Okay.
very illuminating. I guess I missed the first session yesterday, so I'm missing some information, which I'll try and find out.
If you need help, just tell me on Discord and I can.
Okay.
Also, explaining something for 3 hours without seeing people is a bit difficult sometimes. Guys, wake up.
We're here.
Okay. Do you have question? Something is not clear.
I have a question, Marco. So,
Okay.
So like when we do a loop cut, it essentially cuts all 4 edges simultaneously, right?
Essentially, when you are doing a loop cut, you are doing a cut that is following the flow of the faces. If you have faces that are quad, okay, it's working. Instead, if you have at a certain point, you have something that is a triangle or angle. Angle means more than 4 edges.
Yeah.
It does stop. It doesn't continue. Loop is something very important because now I did this stupid house because actually yesterday, I did this. Just a moment. I show to you because, I show you something stupid and after to prepare it, I prepare something else that maybe is cooler. So if I go to Blender, I wanted, but to explain today, but it was too much. Okay, and not everybody is at the same level, so I want to be useful for everybody, and also rendering took me a lot. So don't save. You see here, I used essentially the same commands that we have seen today, and this is something that maybe can be interesting also for Tom, because here I have the
There's no sound.
preview, and
Memo,
sound isn't stable.
can you repeat three maybe sentences like?
Okay, sorry. I have seen that wasn't stable. Sorry. Now I'm not moving the viewport anymore. Okay. But, okay. This is what I did. This object over here, now not show markup, but object. You see, this is a flat object. This one. And this one instead has a lot of details. If I select these objects, okay, we have understood that every software, okay, speak in terms of triangles, okay. This object, okay, is just select it. I have to go to edit mode. Is 685 faces, trees. You see it. I modeled it very fast. It can be optimized a lot, okay. But you see on the bottom right, okay, there is written trees, very small, under here, okay. If I select the other object, okay, is 3,300, no, sorry, not so much, is 1,645. Is a lot more. But with a trick that I'm going to explain the next time that is called baking, but I didn't want to explain today because otherwise I lose everybody. But with that trick, essentially, for that is important having a good topology, to have less faces also, okay? If I go in visualization, in the other visualization mode with texture, and I reconnect it, okay, and I go to, now probably my voice go out because I go on render, okay. If I go on render, now I don't know what okay. If I go on render, you see that the render is similar. One is 1,000. Okay, here I have a small problem, but who cares of it? Depends also where you are watching it. Okay, here you have another problem. But I have 1/3 of the polygons of the other object. But I will show the next time this material that doesn't look realistic, okay? The material of the height topology, this one, okay, is 30, is still a bit big for in my opinion, but I will show an add-on that allow you to make this kind of map very easy without going over Blender forever, okay? But this material is a texture, and this texture is only one texture, is a texture that is coloring all the object, is 32 pixel, 32. Yes, is 32 pixel. In fact, if for the guys, I want to show this because there are some guys that are a bit advanced. I want also to already show, but I will show also the next time. Okay, if I go in edit mode, okay, and I go over there on the top, you know, I have the different. I go here. You see that this is my texture map. This one. And is very efficient for game engine and for places as the hub. At the same moment, you still have the colors. Okay, so actually the mesh can be optimized, it can be more low poly. Okay, if you go slow. Here I have a lot of details. This is all geometry. If I go in edit mode and convert it to triangles, and I show the triangles, you see, these are all the faces I have. And for game engine can be demanding. Also, it's not so a big model. I exported it. I can show also how to export things next time. But if you see it, the difference from with this trick on the texture from low poly and high poly is not so much. If I will go a moment, sorry, export gel. One, the high poly, if you don't believe, I show it. The high poly is this one. 200 kilobytes. Capabyte, not kilo, sorry. and the second is 187. It's not something super big, but you can if you optimize your object can be also smaller. Usually, when you go on Sketchfab and you download something that you want to use in the hub for the guys that download things from Sketchfab, things usually are more than 2 megabytes because there are a lot of high quality images. You have to resize them. There is a lot of surfaces that you don't need for something that is going on the web. I hope that this last thing could be something interesting for everybody. Okay. Do you have a... Parizada, I hope, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I hope you understood. And...
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Okay, I need 5 minutes only because I need a small break. But if you want, we can still continue a bit. If for everybody is okay. I want actually not to continue to something that people that maybe had to go out because I'm not seeing how many people were following me. Okay. And we can continue, and I want to show something that maybe for some guys is a bit advanced, and for someone is boring, I don't know. And I'm talking about animation. Because Vera, and please guys, use Discord because I'm using it. If you have questions also after the class, I'm more than happy if I can to help you to do what you want to obtain, for also these lyrical things. And also for yourself, also if you need, I want to do something for myself for modeling, I don't know how to do it. I'm more than happy to answer to everybody when I can, obviously. So Discord is there, use it. And also share your question. This is something great to learn things, I think. Share your question with everybody, makes also think everybody if there is something that can be interesting for them also. I have watched the speech about by Mozilla guys on how to make this kind of textures inside Blender, okay? But after I discovered, in fact, I want also to tell to them, maybe they know it, they forgot to say that Blender automatically creates a map that maybe for you, Tom, is you know it, is called ORM. ORM is for occlusion, roughness, and metallic, all in the same map. And in the Mozilla Hub, they told you you have to create this map in Photoshop, for example. Okay. Instead, the GLTF exporter from Blender is already making it by itself. So if you have the ambient occlusion map, the metallic map, and the roughness map, when you press export, it creates automatically this. Sorry, but I needed a coffee. So,
Yeah.
if you go to GLTF material unpacked, okay, and you open it, you know that when you have for key screen sucks, you can see it in the folder. So I open it, okay. But now I created some maps that are stupid, are not right, okay, because I haven't put the right materials inside them, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go here and I open it, just a moment, you see this map combines occlusion, roughness, and metallic.
Mm-hmm.
But in Blender, look, I close it. In Blender, okay, if I go, it's not this one, is just a moment, because wasn't here, is here, okay, open, don't save. If I go on it, okay, essentially what I created this node that if you have already painted the occlusion, is creating the occlusion. You know this node what is? It's a group. If you go inside, there is nothing. There is only the name occlusion. That is enough for GLTF exporter.
Yeah, Marco, but let's not go to this yet, okay? I'm just
but but because he was asking, I wanted to show to him this.
Yeah.
But now I wanted also to answer to Vera. Okay. After I have also an add-on that I have enabled in the folder that I shared with you, Nikita, with Alexandra. If you have this add-on, this is something useful for everybody. When we start to see next time materials, if you double click on the texture, usually in Blender you don't see nothing. If I double click with this add-on, automatically open it on my left. So I can check the map that I have. That's it for now. Just know that is there, and if Tom already wants to talk to me after the class, there is Discord. You can just type the things there. Okay. So now I show something that for someone can be interesting, for someone can be overwhelming. I'm not an animator, okay? I just say that. So what I'm going to show to you is not from an animator point of view. So take careful everything I say, okay? But in Blender essentially is amazing. This is an answer for Vera. Okay. In Blender, you can animate everything, every parameter that you have. Really, if you know how, you can animate it. For example, if I go on my layout again, I just create a new file because this is not good for this example. And I select this box. Okay. If now I move this box, okay, I have just moved it. Nothing happened. But if now I go back and I press the letter I when I'm in the viewport, I can insert keyframe for everything. Actually, you see there is written insert keyframe menu and I know the shortcut. Oh, I have to enable the screencast, sorry. Okay. If now, for example, I set the keyframe, okay, I have seen a message on the chat, sorry. If I set a keyframe now, you see that under here I have something that is a timeline. This is in frames, means as animators and people knowing 3D stuff, and also people in the movie industry knows. What is essentially a movie is a sequence of image that is going very fast. You have normally something on 25 or 30 frames per second. In the cinema, in fact, I don't want to be wrong, I think it was 33.98 at the beginning. A strange frame rate means that for every second for my settings I have 25 frames. Means that if I press render now, instead of render image, render animation, I have here you see and 50 frames. Means that I have to render 50 images. Take that in consideration if you want to render animation. Instead, if you want just to animate something, with this, you go on the frame, and here you see start and end, okay? And if I move the blue thing, I can position my timeline on that frame. Now, for example, I put it on 20. Now just dragging. Actually, there is a shortcut with right click as everything, also because I put this add-on that allow this for beginners, that they have to find everything. With right click, there are always contextual menu as in every software. Here, now with this add-on, you can go here and set the current keyframe, means the position on your timeline in this moment is 20. If now I move these blue things, okay, and I move my cube on the Z and I press again I, location, now looks like nothing has happened. But if I reposition myself at the beginning, you see that is animated. To see the animation, I know the shortcut, so where is the button? Is here. You see over the timeline there is the button with play animation. And you can play the animation. Obviously, I don't have a key. Oh, you can also, select as everything the keyframe and just drag it. You can move it. What means that if I now put it on 120, on 120 frame, okay, what happened now, because I have more frames in between my initial position, the end, the animation is lower. If instead I go closer than 20, my animation, when I play it, will be super fast. Okay, that is something that I wanted to show to Vera. But because I told that in Blender, you have only to know where things are, but you can animate everything. If you remember, you go here on the object data, here there are the properties, here there are object properties, not object data properties, sorry, object properties. You see that I have this orange thing, this yellowish, means that I have inserted the keyframe. If I move it, you see that now it's green because there is not keyframe here. You see there is not the dot. The dot means animated. If I go to the other one, you see it's yellow also. If now I'm on the yellow and here I change the location, you see it comes orange because means I have changed the position of the object without saving the keyframe. What means that if I go back on the other keyframe and go return to it, I lost my changes. Okay, that is something to mind. What I wanted to say about you can animate everything inside the Blender. I wanted to highlight that here, near every location or rotation or scale, you have this dot. This dot, if you press it, is another way to insert keyframes. Because people comes from different software, and what is amazing inside Blender, for this the name Blender, is that you can do a lot of things inside Blender itself, because Blender is not only modeling tools. Now the game engine is not anymore there, but was also a game engine. It was possible to produce some games with Blender times ago. Now they will reintroduce it again in the next release. And you can animate everything. Okay, now I inserted keyframe with I, and if you remember, the first letter of what you think usually is the command, not like in other software, like for example 3ds Max, or I think also Cinema, I don't remember anymore. With W, it is the shortcut to move the object. E is for scaling, I think. I don't remember. I have to be in front of the PC. But are strange shortcuts. We have W, E, and R to move, scaling, and rotate in other softwares. Actually, you can set up, if you are comfortable with them, also that in Blender. At the beginning, when you have the first installation, or otherwise with F4, you go, or here, if you press F3, okay, and you don't remember where preferences are, you type preferences, you see File Context Menu, okay, you go to File Context Menu, and you see there is preferences somewhere, but usually I use the shortcut. I don't find it. Right.
I think it's under edit, not file.
Was under edit, sorry. Was under edit, okay. Because usually with F4 and what I do usually, for export, because I have to export a lot of things and I have to change settings a lot of times, I don't go over there all the time. I know the shortcuts, F4, P is for preferences, okay, and then go inside. Here I can install add-ons, I can change the interface, and also I can enable where my files are saved and things like that, you know. And you see also that things that I said, that I can also set up my graphic card, things like that, depending on what you want to do. So actually, I have a moment to go back now to the other speech about animation, is that I can animate everything. What I mean? I mean that if I go to, for example, this button that we will not see, okay, for the hub, but I'm showing it just for Vera. You can create something. Now I erase everything with hey. You remember hey, hold, erase everything, X, okay? Actually, usually when you install Blender, you know, this is something I tell now because so you know that you can set up Blender in many different ways. With F4 preferences, okay, you can also change here your key map. And if you know that, for example, key binding for deleting is X, you can also change the behavior. I went on the behavior of it and I said in object mode, when I press delete, I don't have to confirm it because well, Otherwise, if I have it, I enable it just for showing to you, okay? And if I have now a cube, and I'm another cube, and I want to delete this cube because I don't need it. I press X. Okay, confirm to delete, delete. I select the other one. X, delete again. Okay. It can be boring when you have to do it 1,000 times. Instead, if my setup was that the old one, okay, don't confirm. Now if I press X and I select, you see, I have to confirm every time. So going back to my cube, okay, let's instead of a cube make a sphere, okay, put another sphere, and I move this sphere over like this. They're asked to me, usually I'm used to make, to go in cinema, okay, and export the stuff, okay, baking the animation. Okay, you can do also it on Blender, but you can bake everything. Also physics means that now you have also physics in Blender. For that I say Blender is named with the name Blender. Now this is super large because I have a sphere in different position. By the way, you can move, you know, with the keypad, you can move in a different position. I set up for my convenience, okay, to put this menu, object menu, rigid body. If I press right click, now you see remove for quick favorites because I already done it. Otherwise, you see add to quick favorites. Now, if I press quick, okay, I go to rigid body, I say add active. Now, these are like actual physical spheres. Now I can change the shape to sphere, this. Now I'm doing it by one, but I can also select all of them, go to rigid body, okay, and I say copy from active. Now I have the same characteristic to everyone. Now I know that this is a bit, too much for today, but they're asked how to do things, and I say, you can animate anything, okay, and I'm not an animator. So I put kilograms to 5. This is a surface, still a rigid body, but this time is not active, it's passive. I can also add here, not only in the menu, but this is faster with Q. I have my quick favorites here. Huh? And here I put other card, bounciness 2.6. Don't mind about it for the moment, okay? And I put this one, okay, I leave it like that. And this one I increase to like this. Okay, see, nothing is happening. Now I have to select this. Quick favorite, rigid body, copy from active. Now I have the same properties to everyone. Now I think that maybe I have put too many frames, but I don't know what happened. Just a second, sorry. Type active. Control escape. I don't know why it's not. This is active. Dynamic, friction, bounciness, sphere. There is something that is wrong with rigid body. Yesterday worked, maybe. I don't know. But let's say that with this characteristic, why it's not happening? Oh, maybe because I have this one, dynamics, rotation, margin. I don't know, something happened. I have to check it in case I will make a video and will send it to you. I don't know what is not working now. I will send it to you because there is something that is not working now. Maybe it's dynamic. But it shouldn't be that. Okay. Copy from active. No, there is something that is not working and I have to check. There is something not working well. I will check it and I will, but essentially what I should do is with physics, essentially enable gravity, they should fall down, but probably I just ruined something. Okay. And I have to check the file, what is wrong inside. For sure, something that I missed. But what is important is that you can animate every parameter that you have inside Blender. That's it. Probably it's calculating, but it's not. Maybe there is too much. Okay, I try for the last time. Okay, I put the UV sphere. Okay, rigid body. And active. Yeah, there is something that is super weird. No. Oh, now it's, you see, it's strange. But okay, I add a passive. If I add passive, it happens this. You see? And this is physics. He's calculating if works. I go to this object, to its physics properties. I increase the mass and I increase the bounciness to 0.65, let's say, means how much bounce. Now, if I also put on passive 0.6, I think it should bounce, you see, using the physics. If you need to learn it well, you go over there on help, manual, and you can search for physics here in the search. Or you can also on some things, not everything is there. Okay. If you go on the menu, for example, right click, you see there is F1. You go to online menu and go exactly to that command. Now I select duplicate because I know there was. I opened. And now you can see the related info if you need to understand the tool better. Not all the tools are there, okay? And in case you just search here in the docs, opening from help menu manual, okay? Something else that were asked to me is, now I have it, but how to export it? Usually you are not exporting things like physics, but if I do fast menu, because I already put it, and I say rigid body, bake to keyframes, now I select 51 keyframe. Bake every 5 keyframe means every 5 keyframe I have a keyframe, not on all my timeline. Now, if I press OK, it takes a while. And if I select the sphere, I see that I have my keyframe. Now, if I export it, the GLTF with F4, export GLTF, I have automatically the animation, okay, of it. I don't show now all the settings. Something that also, sorry for the delay, but there was this problem that physics wasn't working. Sometimes happens, and if you don't use a tool too much, actually also because they are improving physics a lot, doesn't make sense to learn too much about it. They are changing it also, and is something I some time ago required a lot of power for the PC. Now it's better. Okay, so particles, things like that. Usually don't use that in Blender. I use other software because I do 3D archviz and are faster, and they don't pay you enough to use Blender essentially, or 3D Xmax. You have to compute a lot to not too much money. Okay, so essentially use the tool that is faster for you. So now I show also the last things for Vera, and please, Nikita, cut the part that was working because for her is confusing. Now I show the last one.
Which one? I'm sorry.
That one in which the physics wasn't working doesn't make sense because
okay,
I was changing a lot of parameters. Is confusing for her. Okay. Usually I have a lot of materials, a lot of cameras, and all this data are all spread in my Blender. For example, now I put a cube and I go on his material. I go on material. I see that I have already a material and I don't like it. No, now this is the default means. Maybe I have something like that. After I have another one. I have a mess, okay? And I erase it. I put the cube. I go here and I see I have already materials inside the scene. After when I save, I have only the materials I'm using. But otherwise, in my file, I can have 100 materials and I have to scroll everything. So usually I have put a quick favorite, that is this one, and it should be in maybe, in file, clean up, purge all. If I purge all and I confirm it, now I have 19 data of many things inside Blender, not anymore there, and it's easier to navigate, Okay, that's the last thing. Now, okay, I do something nicer because we see all the time cubes. Oh, fuck. Too much cubes. Okay. So let's do Earth. It's not a complicated one. Okay. So you start to see also some tools. I scale this. Okay. Where is, okay, like this. And is a low poly Earth, let's say that, okay? And not so low poly, is not optimized. Let's say this, okay? And can also scale like this if you want. Or, okay, you have the idea. It's not perfect, okay? But it's better than the cube. Now I put to the bottom, yeah. So I have them perfectly on the center. Now I animate it pulsing. What I do? I just take it, I scale it up. No, actually, this is another shortcut. Sorry. With right click, I can set. I can go to contextual menu. I can change. You remember the orange point? I can put it origin to the geometry is taking an average position for my origin. Now, if I'm scaling, it's scaling from it. And what I do, I go on the first frame. I scale it down. Okay, let's say like this, and I put a keyframe on scaling. After I go to fifth year, doesn't matter. I scale it like this, and I put scaling again. Now, if I do this, it's doing this. It's boring. It's not amazing. It's slow. Now, if I go on the animation, this is for Vera, okay? If I go on animation, I select it, I see my keyframe, here, instead of the opsheet, I can change it, clicking here, to graph editor. If animators are looking to me, they are killing me now, okay? But essentially, if I go on key here, I can choose bake sound to F curve. What I'm doing. I'm doing this. So I'm putting this sound that is a heartbeat that I found somewhere. I hope it's not with copyright. And I bake sound to F curve. Now, if I animate, I also did a mistake. I have to go to the beginning. Okay, keyframe. I repeat it essentially. Make sound to F curve, heartbeat. Okay, and here you keep, I'm not a musician. For musician can be better. I bake sound to F curve. Now you see that my earth disappeared. But if I press play, I have my earth bit. You see, how can I export it? Essentially, if you go to objects, but I have put, you have animation also. But I have put a shortcut. You go to animation in quick favorite. Okay. If you don't have it, next time I show, if you don't remember, I show you how to make a quick favorite for animation menu. Okay. What I do, I say bake action. I select less frames still as before. This time I want to export 50 frames for hubs. Okay, let's say. So I put here the half of 50, 25, 1 to 25 frame step. Let's say that we want less frame also. Try 3. Maybe it's not right. Okay. Now, if I go back to my layout, I see I have some keyframes here. You see it? Here. Now I can reduce it to 50. And if I play it after it finished, if I want a looping things, this is something that I have also checked on the Blender Foundation question. There is a website for all these resources. After once I share them, no problem. Okay. But essentially, you have to do it on when you are doing keyframes. Okay, you are putting keyframes on different scaling. Not only, you see, my earth disappeared. Is scaling on different axes, X, Z, and Y. Okay. So what you do? You go to animation tab. Okay. You go over here on the left. You select, for example, you see the X scale is changing. Okay, I select it with N or with this small arrow. You can open it or with N. Okay. If I select the curve, there is modifier. If I add cycles and after I say here repeat mirrored, you see it mirrored the curve, but now only on the X scale. I have to copy it with this button. This. Okay. After I have to go to X, select it. Okay. No, I'm still on X. I have to hide it because I have to select this one. Why is not selecting? Sorry. Okay, I have to select this one. I have to copy it. I have to select the Z scale and I have to copy it. And after I enable again these things, so that this means enable that modifier and does F curve contribute to the result. Okay. Now, if I go back, I have still to check if it works well, so modifier when exported. Okay. But it should, because our baked animation. And if I go here, you can see that now its cycle is not stopping so much. It's not perfect, but it's better. Maybe I missed some rotation or something. Okay. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. You can switch on your camera if you have other questions. We were very long.